Welcome to Your Voice Must Be Heard podcast. I'm your host, Marquita McGee, a happy wife, proud mother, career woman, and voiceover artist. I created this podcast as a place to be encouraged through wisdom for different aspects of life. We all navigate through the many challenges of life, feeling unfulfilled in our purpose, and we believe there's more. We will explore in this podcast keys to unlock the door to the next level and transform. I'll be interviewing people who have found unconventional wisdom that catapulted them to success in business, health, relationships, and their gifts in the arts. We will reflect on how you can apply unconventional wisdom to achieve your success, affirming what you believe and helping you create your transformation story. Come along with me into this week's episode to capture this wisdom and have forward movement in your life. Today we are going into part 2 of the musical life of John Wayne Bailey. I encourage you to listen to part 1 in the previous episode, where we learn how John Wayne got into music, the height of his career, and the challenges he faced with homelessness and addictions. We will continue the interview today and learn how he was restored from homelessness and addictions and how God took him to even greater heights in his music career. Let's take a listen. Because God brought you out of it, my assumption is you're like, well, it's no shame here. It's no pride. I'm just going to pick up the pieces and move on with him.
Yeah, I was content with just having a place to live because I had lost all my equipment. I had thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I don't even know what happened to it. I think people stole it from me in the process. All the drug addicts I was around, and I was so in another world doing drugs. I don't know how to say I didn't notice because it's a big deal to lose your equipment. But, when you don't have a place to stay and you're keeping it at this person's house, that person's house, that stuff just starts to disappear, And I was just satisfied to have, like when I got an apartment to live in, I couldn't see up to that point. So when I got an apartment, it was a shock. All of a sudden now I have a place to live. And even though I had like $10 left over after 2 weeks, okay, all I had was $10, but I had everything, you know what I'm saying? I had something to eat, I had a roof over my head, and I was cool. I didn't really have any equipment other than just my acoustic guitar that I play all the time. And I was satisfied with that because I didn't know how I was going to get out of my situation. It's not like God said, hey, I'm going to do this for you. I just said, Lord, I know I can't be like this anymore. Help. That was my prayer. Just help,
Yes.
Straight up, what I'm saying? It wasn't anything spectacular. But he literally, I didn't do it. All I know is I woke up into everything he was doing. And I got pulled out of that. And one of the guys I met while I was with Def Jam was Kevin Parker. He's a mixing engineer he mixed an engineer like Whitney Houston, Madonna, like P-Funk, the George Clinton band, Mystical, Outkast. Yeah. He mixed a lot of just major people, and somehow he and I became friends in the midst of it. And he calls me one day and he wants to go out and do something. And I was like, I don't do anymore. So I was like, I don't do that anymore, Kevin, He said, well, you got to come down to the studio. I was like, I said, man, I'm done. Because it was a burden to want to be successful, to lose it and still want even beyond the success that you lost. That was a burden to carry that for me. And I did not want that anymore. I was tired of carrying that I want to be successful. And so I literally prayed. I said, God, I don't want this anymore. I said, I'll just take you, Lord. I just want you, and I don't want this. I said, this is a burden to me. And fast forward, when Kevin came back in, he was trying to get me to come down to the studio. He was working down at Outkast Studios, Stankonia and all that. And then I was just like, I was like, man, that sounds great. I said, but I'm just not about that life anymore, man. And I was so done. But he would not stop. He laughed at me. He said, oh, come on, John Wayne. He said, man, that's like Michael Jackson said he don't want to play basketball, dude. Come on. I mean, not Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan. Sorry, my fault.
Yeah.
There we go.
I know what you mean.
So I finally went down there. Really, I sold a song. I did a song with him and a producer I met from Rock to Death, Walt Cusick, and we got a song with Colt Ford out of Nashville country hip hop. And let me tell you how God works. One of my childhood favorites is DMC, RunDMC, right?
Yeah.
So DMC was on the song. I got to be in the studio with DMC. That was crazy for me. That's like, somebody think about the biggest star that they love, and then they get to be in the studio with them. Oh my goodness. It's like God said, look, not only am I going to bring you back because I know you love to do this, he said, but I'm going to do it I'm going to show you in a way that there's no way you can make this happen. So it was just cool. It was a really good moment, and it's really opened up so many other doors too,
This is so good. You're answering my questions before I even ask them. I'm like, I want to ask that. Oh, he's answering that. So this is so good. So I want to elaborate on that last part. You mentioned, when you gave your life over and said, you know what, I'm not chasing this big time fame anymore. I'm just going with you, God, and then we'll see what's next. And, he made it work out for your good, and you're just flourishing and thriving. Okay, so you've worked with high-profile people. You have great opportunities that come your way. I'm sure there are some that you turn down, and some that you do accept. What is the key to you accepting an opportunity versus you rejecting one? As you mentioned just in your story, you shared that Kevin wanted you to do something and you're like, no, I'm not about that anymore. So how do you filter the opportunities that you get?
Wow. You got to do what you were called to do. And what you were called to do can open up multiple doors. You see what I'm saying? If you're called, okay, let me use a very bad analogy here. If you're called to be a car that's racing on the road, you're going to have the opportunity to park on the side of the road. You're going to have the opportunity to park in a garage. You're going to have the opportunity to just be at a show and people, you know what I mean? So, but you're meant to race on the road. So you got to turn down those although they're associated with cars and so forth, you got to turn down those things down, and you got to do what you were meant to do. So it's almost like a growing process of knowing yourself and what, you were created to do. And then staying within those boundaries, because even if you get, like I say, upon an international level, you know what I'm saying, when you get up there, there's going to be so much to work through. You're going to have more people pulling at you. You're going to have, even now, I get people all the time that want me to record with them and so forth, and I have to literally tell them yes and no, but I've had to go through the process of growing to understand that as soon as they ask me, I begin to feel whether it's right for me or not immediately. And then I've even had to tell people no, and then they're so persistent to keep coming at me, and then I just have to be like, look, and just keep it respectful, of course, but I just be like, look, straight up, and I'm so sorry, I just can't do it, because I know that my call and what I'm supposed to do is over here, and that I wasted a lot of time with other things enough to where I learned, okay, what I need to do and then what I don't need to do. So I definitely do that when I deal with people. And then, you got to write down those goals, and you got to keep them in front of you. And it doesn't mean that those goals cannot be revamped, which they're going to be revamped. You're not going to complete all of them. Like my dad is a military vet, Vietnam vet, and so one thing he always taught me is just it's in my brain the way I work. The military, they do a 24-hour plan, 7-day plan, 30-day plan, and a 365-day plan, and then they're constantly revamping those. And this is the greatest military in the earth that operates this way. So I try to do that. I sound real good, like I'm good at it. Trust me. It's. I don't know if anybody ever gets good at that. I just know that you got to have that strategy up there, And even now, it's like as I'm talking to you, it's like you set up goals and you got to execute them. But I'm not saying that I execute them really well. I just say that I put it up there and try to go after it.
Yes. That's good. That last part about those plans, kind of segues into my next question. What do you tell somebody who's just starting out? They're writing songs. They're trying to perfect themselves as a musician. They want to be an engineer. They want to get into the industry. What nugget would you share with them? Or have you shared that already, for them to, chase their dream or get in front of opportunities?
If I get the opportunity to speak to someone about that, which I have one right now, a young girl, she's 18. Her mom used to be one of my fans in one of my groups, and she's just like, her daughter's graduating, and she wants me to send her a letter and put something about legacy in there for her in the letter. So I like doing little wax stamp letters. I do that kind of cool little artistic thing and put a little personal touch on it. And what I'm going to tell her is what I'm going to answer your question with. Number one, this is for either, a guy or a girl. For her, she's a girl. I'm going to tell her there's an old woman waiting on her and trusting that she's going to make the proper decisions. That's number one. Number two, you're going to leave a legacy, but you got to choose. Is it going to be a legacy of life, or is it going to be a legacy of death? Is it going to be a legacy that rides with God, or is it going to be a legacy that rides with the devil and with evil? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's the choice that people got to make. And so it's going to be one or the other. They're going to have to intentionally make that choice. And then when they look upon their lives, look back on life, if they're blessed to be able to look back on their lives, they're going to have the feeling of whether it was worth living or not. So when it comes to, to art, you want to encourage the next generation after you. That's our job. You know what I'm saying? So when I do music and stuff, I still got big dreams. But I understand also I got a lot of people behind me back over here, and I got to encourage them. So the thing about it is when I go after my dreams, I want to make sure that I'm proud of myself at the very end. You know what I'm saying? Because there's an old person waiting for you to make the right decisions. It's you at your oldest, I would say your peak in your life, and you want to look back, you want to be proud of what you do. You want to make sure that you're on the side of good. You know what I'm saying? That's on the side of God. And then, you got to make sure that there's purpose in your music or whatever art that it is that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because anybody that's ever been great, they had purpose. You know what I'm saying? So we can just think about all kinds of people with that. They did stuff with their gift. They say you only live once. Well, the YOLO thing, I say that's incorrect. You actually live twice, and then you're gonna get to review the first time you live when you're done.
Yes.
So make sure you do it right, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Ooh, man, this is so good. I want to keep going. All right, I want to switch it over just a little bit, but we're still in the same vein. Every nation touched, every heart changed. Tell us what a glow is and what you do with that.
Ooh, I just love a glow. When I tell you genuine people, they encourage, they're such encouragers. They know how to just be happy for you and encourage you and just really bring the gift out that's in you. Their senior leadership is Dutch Sheets, who works with Chuck Pierce out of Glory of Zion down in Texas. Chuck Pierce is he's basically, a prophet to the nations, and Dutch Sheets is the prophet to the United States. Just really solid men of God. But a glow, most of the aglows are small. They got multiple ones in each state here in the United States. But from what I understand, they have an aglow in every nation in the world. So each aglow lighthouse is, they're mostly women that do them because, women they seem to be more committed, they can be trusted better sometimes. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is it's usually smaller groups, like maybe 5 to 10 people in each lighthouse. But when this is I got the regional coming up. So there's going to be a lot of people there, for that. But it's just really cool. They come together. We do worship music. They're seeking what God is saying for either a particular issue that's going on in society, for a situation that could be going on. They come together to pray, to worship God, to stir up God's spirit and find out what God is saying and what he puts on their hearts as a whole, as a gathering, about what to pray for and what God is saying about a situation. Like, give an example, when it comes to voting for the president, something like that, they'll come together and do a service and see what the Spirit of God is saying about which candidate that he wants his people to vote for. Or let's say there's some kind of evil going on. I'm also connected to, they also are connected to that too, but other people that are in a glow with the sex trade, and we come together and do the same thing against the sex trade. We'll pray against that, because you got innocent victims that are pulled into that. And, you and I sit here talking, but there's somebody sitting somewhere that's an innocent victim against their will being held. So then what we do is we pray against those that are doing that. And then we pray for the individuals and the ministries that are out there trying to help them and pull those people out. And not only just pull them out, they also got homes for them people to live in and help them to recuperate from everything they've been through. I like a glow because it's a company of people. It's not a church. It's a company of people of God, and they come and they gather, just like they always did in the Bible, just in the Old Testament. God's people would come together, you know what I'm saying? And they would see what God was saying, try to find out what the Spirit of God together. And, it's like if I say, this is what I feel God's, and then you come to me, Marquita, you say, this is what I feel God's saying. And then we get about 20 or 30 of us together. If we find some common ground, we're a lot more sure about what we think God is saying,
That's good. And so you are a worship leader through a glow, as well as other ministries and other things that you're doing. This is great. So what's new with you? What's next for you? What are you working on? What do you want to share with the people?
Wow. Let's see. Well, I haven't released any new songs since before the pandemic, 2018, I think it was. I got some new songs coming. Actually, although I still write secular music too, always inspirational, always clean though, you know how I do it.
Yes.
But I've got my first Christian and gospel music I'm going to be releasing with the videos coming out. I don't know exactly when, probably by the summertime is when they're going to hit. I'm working on my first movie as well, scoring the music for that, with a potential to line up, a lot more after that.
Nice.
And that's a huge thing, because that can really, you can make a lot more money doing that, scoring music, for movies in a short amount of time. And so that's the thing that I'm doing there. I guess I'm a local missionary too. At least that's what they call me, as far because I get called to do music events and worship events basically all over the Southeast. Although that sounds real good, it's not as often as you may think, but that's basically what I do. So so those are the things that I'm doing right now. And then so I get called by different churches, different events, just to come do music. We got this spot here in Roswell, the Roswell Day of Hope. I mean, we had over 5,000 people come through there last year, and we fed them. We had contests for them to win money. I think they gave out almost $10,000, I think. I can't remember how much. May have been less than that. Sorry if I'm wrong. And just people coming, they would sign. It was just people that were in need, the community. We were touching the community. And they gave free haircuts. The food was phenomenal. It was stuff for the kids. It's just, I like stuff like that. I'll do big concerts anytime too, when I get the opportunity to do those. But I'm not afraid to get down and dirty and work in the community and touch people locally,
Yes. As I was researching, that's what I found a lot about you, is you love giving back. You love being a part of the community and really impacting people on an individual and personal level. I'm just excited to be a part of your journey, your story, what's coming new. I know Come Alive is still in my playlist, and my husband loves Forevermore. And so we're going to be very excited to hear about the new music and videos with it, as well as the movies. So you're doing big things. What a great honor. Well, okay, yes. This has been great. Was there anything else you wanted to share that we didn't get to?
Let's see. Yeah, I think that for anyone that's listening, I need them to hear one thing and hear it really well too, please. That you have a gift and it will make room for you. Even those that I've talked to people before, they think, oh, I don't have a gift. No, you most definitely have a gift. That's like saying, I don't have a fingerprint. No, you have a fingerprint. And yours is not like anybody else's. So if someone thinks that they don't have a gift, it's probably because they're looking at everybody else's fingerprint. But if you look down at your fingers, you got your own fingerprint. And so you have a gift. It is meant to be a blessing not only to you, but to those that are called for it to be a blessing too. And your life is not without purpose. You know what I'm saying? And, life is special. And so don't give up. Don't give up hope, and just ask God, Lord, help me. And what do you want me to do?
That's good. And so that leads us, I like to give the audience some type of actionable tip, that they can do. And so you just said that we all have a gift and we have purpose. So what is something that our listeners can do today to get closer to knowing their gift, operating in it, or, finding purpose? What would you say they need to do, that one thing?
Write it down. That is so huge. What I do is I get little erasable boards. I've got them all over my studio. I wrote goals on them too, but I always start out I write like a big circle and I write in there, for instance, what your gift is or what you do, if you know what that is. And then from there, think about where that's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And then you'll write off where that is 15, 20 years from now. So basically you're writing down the vision that you have in your heart. You got a vision. There's one in there. Something that if you don't know what it is, then what you need to do first is begin to, to pray and seek and see what it is that your gift is. You know what your gift is. Just ask the people around you what you're good at, and they're going to tell you. And then, but most people know what they're good at, you know what I mean? At some point they begin to figure that out. So write it down. And then write down goals that will get you to the highest point of that gift. Write down goals that'll get you there. And along the way, you're going to improve on clarifying that vision. You're going to revamp what you wrote down. And then you're going to keep getting sharper and sharper. I found that when I wrote stuff down and I look back 10 years ago, I fulfilled most of them. And I don't even know how that happened. But you got to write it down first, though. You got to write that down first, though,
Wow.
So that's what I would say.
Yes. Sound like you're saying there's power in writing.
Yes.
It's power in writing it down.
Big time.
This is so good.
And it's different than just typing it in, you know what I'm saying? That you want to have something separate that you write down, hanging on your wall, where you got to look at it every day when you walk by it. You might get caught up in life, forget about it. And, like I've had some stuff I've had to deal with within my family, with my dad here recently. And, so I get caught up in that and I walk over by the wall and boom, I'm looking right at the vision though, in the midst of everything. You got to have that vision written down, write the vision down and make it plain on paper or, on an erase board or something like that,
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So tell us, where can the people find you?
Okay, I am on, you can just search my name, John, John, Wayne, Wayne, Bailey, Bailey. On Instagram, it's bjohnwayne. Facebook is just straight up John Wayne Bailey. YouTube is John Wayne Bailey. And then, that's kind of it's the only things that I kind of put myself out there on currently. Or the website is therealjohnwaynebailey.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been such an awesome honor and privilege to be in your presence and hearing the stories and all that you're doing. It is so life-changing. It's so motivating. I'm ready to get off and come back and listen and take my own notes. This is good. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Your Voice Must Be Heard podcast. I hope the story you heard inspired and motivated you to take action for transformation in some aspect of your life. I would love it if you send an email with questions, share your enlightening moment, or profound wisdom you may have. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Your Voice Must Be Heard Podcast. I look forward to hearing from you. See you in the next episode. Bye.